Exposure is, right? You know, doing all these speaking engagements, and then I'd come home and I'd be in my studio apartment. And then I'd go back out again, and I would be on the Today Show, Good Morning America, the Tyra Banks Show, Ellen, and all these other shows. And then I'd come back and I'd be in my studio apartment. And that, on my futon, or the floor, because it was sometimes more comfortable. So that back and forth, I think, was what really helped to shape me, because I understood that I was both people. I was the person that I was in front of people, but I was also the person that I was when I went home, who couldn't afford my rent, who was still struggling to make it. And having that perspective helped me to really understand how important it is to spread that message to other people and to help people realize that what you see isn't always the fullness of what someone's experience is. And the material things, although they were lovely, that wasn't really what changed my life. What changed my life was having perspective, being grounded, and knowing that I had to find a way to make a contribution to other people.
Okay, okay. You want to have a seat?
Yeah.
Standing up the whole time for an hour, so it might be a bit uncomfortable. Do you want to open the floor to students? So if you guys have any questions about what Ms. Coleman does, or if there's anything that you have on your mind, anything. Do you guys have any questions? One, Aladdin. Let's quite up guys to see what Aladdin has to say.
Yeah, I understand that one of your main goals as the Youth Champion, and congrats on the status on it, is that you have to promote the MDGs, right?
Yeah, well, primarily we're promoting the message of the International Year of Youth specifically, which is dialogue and mutual understanding. And then the super objective of the United Nations, obviously, is to engage people for the MDGs, yeah.
And then, but us being youth, if we were to say take initiative and want to help, in the Philippines alone, want to do something to help one of the MDGs, do you think there's any specific thing we could do as a youth group?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it starts with something that you all already have, which is awareness. So right there, you are a step in the right direction. It begins with awareness, and then it begins with passion and commitment. So you take that awareness and you say, what is important to me specifically? Because I think having the objective of changing the world is just a little big, you know? I had that one for a while and I realized I needed to take it down a notch, you know? So I think by being specific, figuring out what your passions are will help lead to what your purpose is. So you figure out, this is my passion. I'm passionate about the environment. I'm passionate about girls. I'm passionate about clean drinking water. I'm passionate about shelter. Find one thing specifically that you're passionate about, and then get together either with your friends and start something yourself, take that initiative, or become a part of organizations that are already doing something in that direction. And then I think the biggest thing that you can do also is to utilize your social media that you use for everything else with a purpose. To take your Twitters and your Facebook accounts and all these things and use them to promote the messages and mobilize young people, literally. Yeah.
I think that's a pretty important message. Raise your hands if you have a Facebook account. Exactly. Twitter? Yeah, I mean, so everyone's pretty much hooked up and wired here, and they all have the potential. We all have the potential to make that kind of difference.
I think sometimes what happens though, and I know it happens to me, is that we're waiting for someone else to do something so that we can follow. And this is a room of leaders. So in order to lead, you have to trailblaze. You have to make a new path. You have to take risks that, you know, a lot of times we're waiting for something to feel safe or feel comfortable, but it's supposed to be uncomfortable. That's how you know that you're moving into new territory. If you walk into a room and you recognize everyone and you recognize everything, then you're probably not moving forward. If you move into a place where you're scared, where you're insecure, where you're not really sure what you're gonna do or how you're gonna do it, that's where magic can happen, because you're forced to grow. And I think sometimes it's hard to want to put ourselves in those situations, but we have to.
Right, right. Are there any other questions?
Great.
Mr. Richmond.
Over the last couple of weeks, we've been watching Egypt and Libya and Tunisia and Bahrain organizing people to try, or people have been organizing to try to hold their governments accountable for these kind of international goals that you're talking about, the idea of valuing individual worth and liberty and justice. You said at the beginning that you participated in $1 billion international industry, basically, a gigantic money-making machine kind of for Disney. And what I'm wondering is how you feel we can do the same sort of accountability or hold corporations to the same level of accountability that people in the Middle East are trying to hold their governments to. You know, these millennium goals aren't just about holding governments accountable, right? It's also about
This is classic Mr. Richmond.
Wow.
But this is classic
I'd like applause for that. That's great. That is an amazing question. Without getting too into detail or becoming political in any way, what I would say is that I believe that it's our responsibility to hold ourselves accountable, and what I am attempting to do is to make way for people who are like-minded to be able to have influence in policy, and to contribute to policy, and to be the people who have these corporations, for instance. So I don't know what to do about those who are already established and set in their ways, whether that be because of greed, corruption, whatever. But what I do know is that if young people do not inherit the mistakes, the greed, or the hatred of those that came before them, and start grounded in values, if you start a corporation, if you start a business, if you start an organization, and you're grounded in it being ecologically friendly, you're grounded in it being a social business that can help sustain a community, if you're grounded in the fact that this is not about personal gain, this is about the gain of other people, I think that we can kind of tip the scale some. But I don't know, I don't have the answer to that question as to how to go in and change what already is, but I do know that those of us that are empty, you are empty vessels with opportunity in front of you. You have the option to do things differently. You don't have to follow in the footsteps of how it was done before. You can make a difference. You can actually say, I'm not going to have my organization do that. For instance, Charity Water. Charity Water is an organization that is bringing clean drinking water to people all over the world. Scott Harrison, who is the person who started Charity Water, decided that every single dollar that is donated goes to the wells. Now, he's in a little bit of an issue because he's got to pay his staff. He's got to pay the people who are working for him. But he made the commitment that every single dollar that's donated goes to building a well. It doesn't go to anything else but that. So now he's got to raise money for marketing and this and that and the other, and he's got kind of a problem. But when he figures it out, that's the future. You can be like a Scott Harrison. You can be like the young man who started Tom's Shoes, where for every single shoe that they make, they give a pair of shoes to someone who's in need. These are the kinds of ideas that I believe are going to change the world. And when those become magnified, I think it will bring down those other corporations, because there's going to be a whole group of people saying, well, why would I support this self-serving organization or this self-serving government when I can go over here and they have values that match mine?
It's been proven before, especially in Egypt, that moving people in one direction has some potential for power.
And today, the holiday that we're celebrating today, I mean, that really is
It's something special.
It's very special, and it's very special for the world. And I believe that, what's it called again? Peace?
The People Power. The
People Power Day should be getting just as much attention, in my opinion, as what's going on in the other side of the world. Because the truth is that that is equally impressive and equally impactful. And that's the lesson that we should learn from. We should learn from pregnant women standing out there saying, like, even if I have my baby today, I want my baby to be born in a democracy,